Are you carrying too much stress? What if you could let go of your worries and trust in a bigger plan? We all know how it feels to be weighed down by stress. It's like a constant pressure on your chest, right? The deadlines, the responsibilities, the worries about your future. It can feel like everything is piling up at once. You're trying to juggle so many things, and it seems like no matter how much you do, the stress keeps growing. The demands of life are relentless, and the feeling that you have to keep everything in check is exhausting. Have you ever thought to yourself, I just can't take any more of this? In moments like these, it's easy to feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Every decision feels like a heavy burden, and it's hard to know what to do next. But here's something I want you to think about. What if you didn't have to carry all that stress? What if there was a way to stop worrying and let go of the pressure? I know that's easier said than done. When life feels like a constant uphill battle, it's hard to imagine being free from stress. It feels like if we don't keep pushing, everything will fall apart. The truth is, we live in a world that encourages us to hustle, work harder, and always be in control. We're constantly told that if we want to succeed, we have to do it all ourselves. But here's where things get tricky. The more we try to control, the more stressed out we become. What if, instead of carrying all the weight of your worries, you could trust that there is something bigger than you at work? What if you didn't have to fix everything yourself? This is where faith comes in. You see, trusting God doesn't mean we stop doing the work or stop trying our best. It means we let go of the pressure to control every outcome and trust that God has a bigger plan in motion. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to release that burden of constant stress. Imagine waking up every day knowing that you don't have to carry all the weight of life's challenges by yourself. You don't have to worry about every little thing. You can choose to trust that God has it all under control, even when you don't understand how it's all going to work out. That doesn't mean that life won't be tough or that problems won't come. But what it does mean is that no matter what you face, you don't have to go through it alone. You don't have to carry the stress of every situation because God is with you. And when you trust in Him, you open up space for peace to enter your life. Peace that doesn't come from solving every problem, but from knowing that God is handling what you can. Here's the thing. Stress often comes from our desire to control the uncontrollable. We try to predict the future, plan for every possible outcome, and make sure everything is perfect. But the truth is, we can't control everything. We can't foresee every challenge, and we certainly can't change everything that's happening in the world around us. When we accept this truth, we can finally begin to let go of that weight. Instead of carrying all that stress around, you can start trusting that God has a bigger picture in mind. He's already working behind the scenes, even when it feels like you're walking through the storm. Trusting God means knowing that everything will work out in His perfect timing. It doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're actively choosing to let go of control and trust that God is in charge. Take a moment and reflect. What would happen if you let go of the stress you're carrying right now? What if you stopped trying to manage everything and allowed yourself to trust in God's plan for your life? It might seem like a scary thought, but trust me, the peace you gain by releasing your worries is worth it. So today I challenge you. Stop carrying the weight of stress. Give it to God. Let Him handle what you cannot. Trust in a bigger plan. A plan that's not bound by the limits of your understanding, but is filled with purpose and promise. The moment you let go of the pressure, you'll begin to experience a freedom that comes with trusting in something bigger than yourself. This expanded hook dives deep into the emotional impact of stress and introduces the transformative power of trusting God as a solution. It builds a sense of hope and peace for the viewer, offering a sense of relief from the overwhelming weight of life's pressures. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments or further changes. Sometimes letting go is the hardest thing to do, but what if it's the key to your peace? Let's talk about trusting God. Have you ever found yourself holding on so tightly to something, trying desperately to control it, only to realize that the more you hold on, the more it slips through your fingers? It's as though the tighter you grip, the more out of control things become. Whether it's a situation, a relationship, a job, or even your own fears and anxieties, we all have moments where we feel like we have to hold on for dear life. But what if I told you that sometimes letting go is exactly what you need to find peace? I know, it sounds counterintuitive. You've been told your whole life to fight for what you want, to never give up, and to always strive. But what if the key to unlocking true peace is the complete opposite of what you've been conditioned to do? What if the answer isn't in doing more or controlling more, but in trusting that things will work out the way they are meant to? Letting go can feel terrifying, right? I get it. We often find ourselves stuck in the cycle of worry, trying to control outcomes and clinging to what we think is best. We fear that if we stop trying to control everything, we'll lose everything we've worked for. We're afraid that if we stop pushing forward with all our might, things will fall apart. But the truth is, the harder we try to control everything, the more we become consumed by stress, fear, and anxiety. The weight of trying to hold everything together becomes too much to bear. I've been there too, feeling overwhelmed by all the things I think I need to fix, constantly carrying around the weight of my own expectations and fears. And every time I try to take matters into my own hands, the pressure only increases. But when I finally decided to surrender, to let go of trying to control everything and trust God's plan, that's when I found peace. The peace that comes from knowing that I don't have to carry the weight alone. Letting go and trusting God isn't always easy. We want answers. We want things to go our way. But life doesn't always work out the way we expect. And it's in those moments of uncertainty that trusting God becomes the most powerful thing we can do. We may not understand everything that's happening in our lives right now, but we can trust that God is always working behind the scenes, moving in ways we can't see, guiding us towards something better. What would happen if you could let go of your worries today? What would happen if instead of trying to control every outcome, you chose to trust that God has a plan for your life, even when you can't see it? Imagine the relief of letting go of the pressure, the fear, and the anxiety that have been holding you back. Imagine waking up each day with a sense of peace, knowing that no matter what comes your way, you don't have to face it alone. Letting go might be the hardest thing you've ever done, but it could also be the most freeing. It's not about abandoning your dreams or stopping your efforts. It's about trusting that God will guide you through the challenges and give you the strength to face whatever comes your way. When you let go, you're giving yourself permission to find peace, to rest in the knowledge that God is in control and that everything will work out according to His perfect plan. So today I want to encourage you to let go. Let go of the need to control every situation. Let go of the fear, the doubt, and the worry that's been weighing you down. Trust God to take care of it. I promise you, the peace you're searching for is waiting on the other side of surrender, and it's worth every moment of letting go. This expanded hook highlights the struggle of letting go, the fear of losing control, and the ultimate peace that comes from trusting God. It invites the viewer to reflect on their own struggles, offering them a vision of freedom and peace by surrendering their burdens. Let me know if you'd like any further adjustments or additions. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in a constant cycle of worry and stress? What if there's a way to break free? Let's talk about how trusting God can change everything. We've all been there, haven't we? That feeling we're constantly thinking about everything that could go wrong, replaying situations in your head, and trying to plan for every possible outcome. It's exhausting, isn't it? The constant worry about the future, the fear of making the wrong choice, and the pressure to get everything right. It feels like you're on a never-ending hamster wheel, running as fast as you can, but never really getting anywhere. And when you're stuck in that cycle of worry, it can feel like you're alone in it. It's as if the weight of your problems is all yours to bear and no one really understands. You might even tell yourself that if you just work harder, plan better, or try more, the anxiety will go away. But deep down, you know that it doesn't really work that way. The more you try to control the situation, the more overwhelmed you feel. It's like your mind is spinning in circles, and the peace you long for is nowhere to be found. But what if I told you there's another way? What if I told you that all this worrying and stress doesn't have to be a part of your life anymore? What if there's a way to step off that hamster wheel, to stop feeling like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders and start living with a sense of peace and trust? I know it sounds impossible, but trust me, it is possible. The answer doesn't lie in trying to control everything around you. It doesn't lie in worrying about every little thing. It lies in trusting God. Here's the thing, life is unpredictable. We can't control everything, and trying to do so only leads to more frustration. We don't know what tomorrow will bring, and we can't always change the outcomes of our situations. But what we can do is place our trust in the one who holds everything in his hands. We can trust that no matter how uncertain things may seem, God has a plan for us, and he's working everything out for our good. When we trust God, we're letting go of the need to figure everything out ourselves. We're allowing ourselves to release that constant tension, that feeling of needing to control the situation. And instead, we're choosing to believe that God has it under control. We're trusting that even when things don't go the way we expect, God's plan is better than anything we could have imagined. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to stop worrying. Picture yourself no longer waking up in the middle of the night, consumed by anxious thoughts. Imagine not feeling overwhelmed by the weight of your responsibilities, but instead trusting that everything will work out in God's timing. The peace that comes from trusting God is unlike any peace we can create on our own. It's the kind of peace that allows us to move through life with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, we're not facing it alone. Trusting God doesn't mean that everything will be perfect, or that we won't face challenges. Life is still hard sometimes. But what it does mean is that we don't have to carry the burden by ourselves. It means we can release the stress and anxiety that come with trying to control everything and instead trust that God is guiding us every step of the way. It means that even when we don't have all the answers, we can rest in the fact that he does. So, what would it look like for you to start trusting God more deeply? What would happen if, instead of stressing over every little detail, you took a step back and said, God, I trust you with this? What would happen if, instead of worrying about what's coming next, you focused on the present moment, trusting that God has a plan for your future, no matter how uncertain it might seem? Today, I want to challenge you to let go of the worry and start trusting. Trust that God knows what's best for you, even when you can't see the way forward. Trust that he's working in your life even when you feel stuck. When you choose to trust, you'll experience a peace that transcends understanding, a peace that will carry you through life's ups and downs. Worrying doesn't change anything, but trusting God, that changes everything. It's time to stop spinning in circles, stop carrying the weight of your worries, and start walking in faith. Trust God and watch how he transforms your stress into peace, your fear into confidence, and your uncertainty into trust. This expanded version emphasizes the cycle of worry and the mental exhaustion that comes with it, while offering the solution of trusting God as a way to break free from that cycle. It invites viewers to imagine a life of peace and trust, even in the midst of uncertainty. Let me know if you need any adjustments or further elaboration. What if you stopped letting fear control your decisions? Imagine what could happen if you chose to trust God instead of worrying. As she sat watching the world go by, something caught her eye. It wasn't so much its color or shape, but the way it was moving. She squinted to see if she could better understand what it was and where it was going, but it didn't help. As she continued to stare into the distance, she didn't understand why this uneasiness was building inside her body. Have you ever been in that situation? You have a decision to make, and instead of moving forward, you stay stuck, overwhelmed by fear. Maybe you've missed opportunities because you were too afraid to take that first step. Or maybe you've stayed in situations that no longer serve you because the fear of change seems scarier than staying where you are. Fear can be a powerful thing, but it doesn't have to control your life. What if instead of letting fear guide your decisions, you chose to trust God? What if you stopped letting fear control you and allowed faith to lead the way? I know that might sound a little out there, especially if fear feels like it's constantly looming over your shoulder. But imagine for a second what it would look like to live without the constant weight of fear holding you back. What if you could move forward with confidence, trusting that no matter what happens, God has you in His hand?